Welcome to Conversations with Champions. My name is Johnny Randolph. I am a speaker, a trainer, a podcaster, and a renowned Toastmaster. And I have with me my special co-host. She is an entrepreneur. She's an artist. She's a photographer. She is currently serving as the public relations manager for District 40. Say hello to the people, Miss Debra Ham.
Hello to the people. Hi, everyone out there. I'm so happy to be here and excited to spend this time with you, Johnny, and Joe as well.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Deborah. Now, the premise of our show is that we all know as Toastmasters that speech contest season is imminent. It is right around the corner on the horizon. And we thought it would be cool to speak with former champions on their progress to provide some best practices, some tools and tips that allow for them to be successful. Now, our special guest today here he is a TEDx speaker. He is a champion. He is a renowned Toastmaster as well. Please say hello to Mr. Joe Shaw. Joe, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. It's been a busy day, but I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So out there in the world, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at Joe's 2023 Semifinals Championship speech. And then we'll get a reaction from that. And then afterwards, we're going to pick Joe's brain just a little bit about some of the preparation habits, the tips, and just things that he used to be successful.
Life is hard. My grandma would tell me. Eventually, someone will hurt you. And when that happens, you get to choose. Fight back or forgive.
Grandma.
What will you do? Contest chair, ladies and gentlemen. As a kid, I played baseball with my friends in the field behind my grandma's house. We played all day, every day. And each day for lunch, Grandma made us her world famous peanut butter sandwiches. These were beautiful.
I like it.
With a thick layer of peanut butter spread on top.
Okay.
I love that.
What made them special was you wrote your name into the peanut butter so you knew this one was all yours.
Aww.
Grandmas are good at that kind of thing.
They are.
I have to steal that one for my son.
Or field, but no one could find a ball. No problem. My grandma has one. It's on her bookcase. I went to the house, picked up the ball with the funny-looking writing on it, and went to the field to play. A little while later, Grandma came out frantic, asking for the ball. What I didn't know was this ball was a gift from my grandpa. He got it signed by Ted Kluszewski, my grandma's favorite Major League Baseball player, when he was on a business trip in St. Louis. Oh, Grandpa carried that ball with him everywhere that trip. He was so excited to give it to her. Only he never got the chance.
Oh.
Grandpa had a heart attack, died in his hotel room. They found the ball in his suitcase, his last gift to her.
And you took it to go play?
I picked it up. I could see the ball was covered in dirt and scuff marks. The signature was gone. And when I gave it to my grandma, she started to cry.
Oh.
Made your grandma cry?
Life is hard. Eventually, someone will hurt you. I heard that speech hundreds of times growing up, but I never thought I would hurt her. The next day, my friends went up for their sandwiches. I hung back. Sat alone on a swing set next to the field, too ashamed to go in. Grandma came out later and sat next to me. I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm so sorry. Oh, I know. I have something for you. She gave me a plate with 2 peanut butter sandwiches.
Oh.
The first one said my name. The second, I forgive you.
Nice.
That's so sweet.
I took that sandwich like communion from God and smiled. Grandma smiled too. And like that, all the feelings of guilt and the pain I caused melted away. And I felt free. Fellow Toastmasters, forgiveness is sticky. Like a peanut butter sandwich,
Literally.
it stays with you. And this lesson has stuck with me my whole life. But it was many years later when I learned how beautiful forgiveness could be. Grandma was out for a drive on her way to the library when someone ran a stoplight at twice the speed limit and broadsided her. The paramedics swarmed trying to save her life, but she broke her neck on impact and died on the way to the hospital. I lost my grandma.
Oh my God.
The other driver was a college kid named Amanda who'd been texting and driving. She walked away from the accident without a scratch.
Oh my God.
Sometimes life just isn't fair, is it? We all struggle with this. My mom in particular, for weeks, she couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, had even taken to stalking this kid Amanda on the internet.
Oh, wow.
She's on Twitter. She's on Instagram. Have you seen these pictures? Have you seen how she smiles? Why the hell does she get to be happy? Mom just couldn't let go. And neither could I. A few months later, the local high school had a traffic safety seminar, and Amanda was one of the speakers.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you better believe we went.
Oh.
Mom was a little quiet, but me, I wanted to see this monster face to face. But I think something changed for all of us when Amanda got up to speak. The worst part isn't losing my license or the pain. It's when I lay down at night, I see the accident happening over and over. I want to stop it. I just want to say, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I can't. And what we realized in that moment was Amanda wasn't a monster. She was a scared kid sitting alone on her own swing set, only now there was no one to come out and take away the pain. Afterward, Mom introduced herself. The woman you killed was my mother.
Wow.
Amanda lowered her head in shame, but my mom didn't stop there. I heard what you said. And if she were here, she'd want you to know she forgives you. And so do I. Amanda took that gift of forgiveness like communion from God and smiled. Mom and me, we smiled too, for the first time in months. And like that, everything was all right. We couldn't bring my grandma back, but all of us could finally move on. And that's what forgiveness does. It lets you move on. It makes you free. Fellow Toastmasters, forgiveness is sticky. Like a little kid with a peanut butter sandwich, it gets all over everything. My grandma didn't survive her accident, but her message lives on. A beautiful message of forgiveness for me, my friends on the baseball field, my family, even Amanda. And now we share that message with you. Life is hard. Eventually, someone will hurt you. And when that happens, don't fight back. Share the power, the beauty, and the freedom of forgiveness. And peanut butter sandwiches.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That is amazing.
Thank you.
That is,
You're
yeah,
welcome.
that is very powerful. Very powerful.
Yes.
Okay, well, now we're going to talk about this experience. And Joe, I'm going to take the lead. And my first question is, the story starts off about peanut butter just sandwiches, something very innocent and pleasant. So for me, the question is, and of course, it takes a lot of turns and everything, but how did you develop the practice of taking seemingly innocent regular topics and then being able to weave them into more complicated stories?
Good
Well,
question.
I like to think of stories as how I feel about something, or a moment when I'm doing something throughout the day and I just get this feeling or this remembrance of something. I remember when I got the idea for this one, it was the sixth speech I'd ever done in Toastmasters. It was a much
Mhm.
earlier version of it. I think it was like 15 minutes the first time I did it. But I for a walk at work, and I'd come up over this hill, and I saw this field that reminded me of the field I played baseball on when I was a kid, and I just had this remembrance of sitting on the porch behind my grandma's house the day she had died, because we all gathered there, and just telling stories about her life. So I was remembering that moment. And the thing about that for me was we were going around our family. Our whole family was there. We have like six aunts and uncles, and all the grandkids were there, and everybody was telling different stories. And I got to the story where I told about the peanut butter sandwich and the baseball, and my cousin goes, "Oh yeah, she gave me a peanut butter sandwich too when I broke her television." And somebody else said, "Oh, I did that one." Everybody there had a peanut butter sandwich story to tell. It was they had done something that hurt her, and she responded with forgiveness. And that was a theme of her life. That was a theme of my mother's life as well. And so having that story, that I just remember that story and thought, well, that's a speech that I should probably write down, and I developed it from there. So it's just allowing that my mind to wander, my mind to misbehave a little bit, and come up with that story based on what I was feeling. I went and typed some notes out, and then kept working on it from there.
So taking real world experiences, whether how pleasant
Yeah.
or how painful, and using them in your storytelling and speeches.
Yeah,
I think that's something that anybody going through Toastmasters or anybody in life, because our stories are
Yeah.
cathartic. I'm imagining that this was a
Yeah.
very cathartic process for you. So our stories are cathartic, and
yeah, it
it
is.
could really help anybody going into it, not just for a contest, but just through their life.
It can be, and I've seen that a lot when I'm coaching people or when I'm helping people. They'll say, "I'm stuck. I don't know what to do," and I'll say, "Think about the things that make you really happy, or the things that make you really sad, or those things you don't really want to talk about, and start thinking about those." Now, you don't want to go crazy and share like your most intimate secrets, but
Right.
some of those things that you're like, I feel bad. Like, why did I do? And then you can start developing that. And in doing that, you can learn more about yourself, and you can learn more about how you relate to other people. And I've seen other Toastmasters that I've worked with that some of the people who've been mentors to me, who've gone through losing a family member or losing a job or having those rough patches in life, and they've talked about it in their speeches. And maybe they win a contest and maybe they don't, but it helps them get past that. It helps them get through that and get perspective.
Yeah. Deborah, do you have any questions you want to start off?
Of just how human your story is and so relatable with the powerful message of forgiveness, which as humans is super difficult for us to let go of sometimes seemingly small things or larger things like what you had to deal with Amanda. My question is finding the moral of the story. So you said you sit down and you started typing out your thoughts. How can we find an underlying message or a moral of the story as we're working on preparing our speeches?
I think you just have to work through it a lot. I think there's a tendency for some people when they're working on a story to say, "I want to tell a story about forgiveness," and they try to wrap a story around that, or "I want to have this particular message," and they try to wrap a story around that. That might work for some people, but that's really always been a struggle for me. I read in Stephen King wrote a book called On Writing. He said when he writes a story, he starts just by telling a story. He doesn't know what it's going to be about. He doesn't know what the message is going to be. He just keeps writing, and eventually you just kind of uncover it. So for me, I've had that moment where I was remembering that moment with when my grandma passed away, and I uncovered the message of forgiveness there. I think a lot of it for me had to deal with the way a lot of people in my family have struggled to forgive the young woman who killed my grandma. She's,
Mhm.
you can still see her online. You can still see her social media posts. I'm not going to share her name now officially because I don't want to out anybody. But at the same time, like there are people who are like, she posted this again. I'm like, that's tearing you up. It's been 20 years. Come on. Like, you got to have some perspective. And for my mom, it was that moment where she was able to see her face to face and say, I forgive you. That for her, that got past a lot of the pain. Now, it wasn't easy from that moment on, but she got past a lot of it.
Joe, so you decide you're going to be in a speech contest. What is your methods for preparation from the first draft to your last draft?
I usually try to give myself as much time as I can to really get the idea down. So I usually start writing my contest speech sometime about July or August the year before. And I try to get a rough draft because I approach it from the perspective of a writer. I'm more of a writer than I am a speaker. And I'll write what I want to write. And then once I get to the point where I feel like I'm close, I'll just start talking through it. And I get to those points where you can hear, like, this phrase that I wrote works really well for a story that you're reading, but it doesn't work really well when you're speaking. Or it sounds good by some people, but because I have a weird way of pronouncing things, sometimes I got to figure out those little phrases. And then I get to a point where I think I've got a good rough draft, and then I might start passing it around to some friends, and they'll give me some feedback, and then I go from there. And for me, if it's a speech that I'm really excited about, it's one of those speeches that never really leaves my brain. I'll be thinking about it when I'm in the shower. I'll be thinking about it when I'm working, when I'm at work, or when I'm driving. Particularly when I'm driving, I'll just I have like an hour drive to work and back. I'll practice it several times, and it's just, you get to the point where it becomes a part of you, and you can allow yourself to play around with different ideas. If you know it well enough, you can say, well, I'm going to try this time and try that time. And if it doesn't work, you can pull it back, and you don't really get lost as often as you might if you didn't practice it as much. So for me, it just kind of let it be my obsession for a good 6 or 7 months, or maybe 8 or 9 if I make it further than I normally do. And there you go. And that's what I.
And I'm gonna have a quick follow up, and then Deborah, I'll let you jump in. During the earlier question, you said it was your 6th speech when you first joined Toastmasters.
Yes.
And that version was 15 minutes. So take me through your process of how you decide what to eliminate and what to retain and what to change.
I usually set for myself, I'll have the original draft, and then I'll say, for it to be good, whether it's a story I'm writing or whether it's a speech I'm doing, I have to cut it by at least a third, and then I have to cut it by at least a third again. And that is a hard and fast rule with anything. And for me, that I think it forces me to be economical with the words I'm using. And it forces me to be creative in being able to say the ideas I want to say in a shorter amount of time. And I know a lot of people don't like to cut that much, but I've found I used to work I went to the University of Cincinnati. I used to work for the news record there. And I had a 500 word limit, and it had to be 500 words. And every one of the essays I wrote was 700 or 800 words, and I had to cut it down to 500. And I learned through that process that cutting it makes it so much better. That there's so much that you have that's fluff, and you can be more impactful with not saying as much as you can with all the words that you have. So I'll do that, and then I'll work with making sure that I just don't have any extra fluff in when I'm doing it. I don't want to have. I want everything I have to be impactful. I don't want to just have random words. And I get to a point where I feel like I've got a good core of what it's going to be, and then I start practicing it out and working on some of the particulars of actual speechcraft.
I could tell that the story became your obsession just definitely from the word choices that you use, the hand gestures and everything. So kudos to that, because I feel like this is something that will stick with me as well. And I also feel like we jumped in a bit head first. So can you take us back? We're going to rewind and tell us how you got into Toastmasters and started your public speaking journey.
Yeah, I never planned on being a speaker. If you were to ask my friends in high school, in fact, they've said many times, "You're a speaker, really?" Because I was the kid that sat in the back of the class. I never said anything. I was the quiet one, and now I'm speaking. And so I was a writer. I write all the time. I have a career in technology, but I'm also an author. Not really. I've sold tens of books. It's great. But I've been
more
writing.
than I've sold.
That's all right.
But My wife and I got married in about 2007. Well, in 2007, not about 2007. We got married. She joined Toastmasters through her work. We were living in Columbus, Ohio. We were expecting our first kid, and I got a job at J.P. Morgan Chase in Columbus, Ohio. And my wife said, "There's a Toastmasters club there. You should go. There's a Toastmasters club there. You should go." I'm like, I don't want to speak. I'm not a speaker. But as we were expecting our first kid, I said, I need something that's going to keep me working on writing in some capacity once we start having kids. And I'm working and we have kids, and I don't want to lose that. So I said, I viewed Toastmasters as a process for me to continue doing that. And I joined Toastmasters, and I really liked it. It was a good community to be a part of. There are a lot of really good people there. It was Polaris Toastmasters was my first club. I was the president there for a few years. I really enjoyed it. And I got in, though, I think 6 months after I started, they had the humorous speech contest. And I wrote funny stories. I had written like a cartoon that was humorous and didn't get picked up. And so they kind of knew, like, Joe's the guy that tells funny speeches. And I went in, I went into this first contest going, I'm going to win this. This is going to be easy. And I came in fifth place out of 5. I need to learn what it means to speak. I can write well, but what does it mean to speak well? And so I started going online and finding all the videos of all the Toastmasters who've won and all the Toastmasters who've gone through the contest. And I said, well, that's how you learn to do it really well. I'll try to do the speech contest. And I went and did it. And I've been doing it almost every year ever since. It's been a lot of fun.
About your TEDx journey. I followed TED and TEDx for many, many years, and I'm sure many Toastmasters aspire to eventually do a TED Talk somewhere in the world about whatever topic. Can you share more about that experience, about what your speech was about, and how you got to TEDx?
Sure. I've actually done 2. They've both been with TEDx.
Not to brag, right? I've done 2, but not to brag, right? You know, just
I'm going to follow that up with, I have been rejected more than 100 times for TEDx.
Nice.
Yeah. So
nice, not nice that you got rejected, but nice that you remain persistent.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying.
I think I started applying 2014, 2015. I didn't get on the stage until 2020.
Wow.
So I would just kept applying and learning the process and kind of learning how to tell what the different vibe is for the different organizations. And I had applied and applied and applied and been rejected and rejected and rejected. I got interviewed a couple times and didn't make it. And I learned a few things about the process. One is that it's not necessarily who's the best speaker, but who has the best idea. So if you can have a creative idea to do a TEDx presentation, that's really what's going to be more effective. When I actually did mine, a lot of the people that were there had never really spoken in public before, but they had some really good ideas. So they had a lot of coaches that would help them. And I eventually became a coach for that organization as well. But I had gone through, I think, what was it, 2019? I lost, I think, in the division contest at the International Speech Contest. I applied for a whole bunch of TEDx speeches, and I got like 6 rejections all on the same day. And I named it. It was about artificial intelligence because I'm a data engineer, so I do a little bit of that. And I had done a little bit of dabbling with it, and I had an idea about what would happen. What does it mean if the artificial intelligent machines turn on us and try to take over the world? So I said, I, for one, welcome our AI overlords was the name of my and they called me a couple months later. They were like, we want to let you know we chose you. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. There's no way. If anybody out there wants to be in a TEDx presentation, then I would say focus on being yourself and focus on your creative ideas. Don't necessarily worry about being professional or the way you think you're supposed to be. They want you. They don't want the way you're supposed to be, because nobody really is who they're supposed to be. So that's true. That. Yeah. Can you hold on one second, buddy? I'm in the middle of something.
I love it.
Good night
we're definitely keeping this in the recording. We're definitely keeping that. Talk about being you. That's awesome. What piece of advice would you give for somebody entering into the International Speech Contest?
I would say, similar to what I said for TEDx, make sure you're focusing on an idea that's important to you, an idea that matters to you, and a way in presenting it that you think is creative and cool. A lot of times people will go into the speech contest going, I'm going to win, and I'm going to do it the way Darren LaCroix did it, or the way Craig Valentine does it, or whoever their favorite presenter is. Early on, I got to see LaShonda Rundles did a presentation at District 40 one year, and we were walking out at the same time. I competed in the contest and not won, and she was talking to me, and I said, I really would love to speak the way you speak, and she said, you can't do that. You would look horrible in this dress. And I said, I wouldn't even fit in the dress. I'm 3 times your size. And she said, but what I learned was, like, you can't really speak like somebody else speaks. You can try on a few things, but you got to develop your own style. So develop your own style. And it's easier to go up there and give it your all, doing what you think is right, doing it the way you want to do it, and making something that you're passionate about, than it is to try somebody else's style on and then go good. I stepped off that semifinals stage from the video we were watching. I stepped off from that going, I want to win, but if I don't, I know I did everything I could this year, and I'm really happy with what I do. Be you is the shorter version of all that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Debra, do you have anything else?
I do. I heard you saying that is get out of your own way. And I know for a lot of Toastmasters and speakers in general, that is the most difficult thing to do. And I see that as an added benefit from your speaking journey. Have you found any additional benefits from doing Toastmasters and becoming a personal or public speaker and going on this journey?
I would say it touches pretty much everything that I do. I mean, Toastmasters has been integral in my ability to lead the teams that I lead and coach the people I coach at work or in public speaking or in writing.
Awesome. So the things that I'm hearing: get out of your own way, be authentic, understand your why. Those are some of the key ingredients to being successful in a speech contest. And success doesn't necessarily mean winning. It means connecting and serving your audience.
Yes. Yeah. You got to focus on what was going to matter to the audience. And the judges are only, 5-6 people in the audience. The audience is a lot larger than that.
But I went to the University of Cincinnati as well, so go Bearcats.
Go Bearcats. Joe, do you have any parting words before we leave?
I want to say thank you for the opportunity. It's for me, I haven't really been doing a lot of speaking lately. This has been crazy, and I did my first speech in Toastmasters in several months 2 days ago, and now I'm doing this, and I feel more excited about it than I have in a while. So thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.
Appreciate you for participating and agreed to volunteer. Debra, any parting words before we head out?
Just to Joe, thank you so much for sharing your story and about your journey. I've definitely taken away a lot from this, but it does, like you said, rekindle that fire to want to speak. And I'm also into writing and storytelling. So it makes me want to sit down and write and see what comes out, throw it against the wall, and who knows, maybe I'll be a champion of public speaking one day. We'll see. Only time will tell.
Yep,
you can.
Yep, absolutely. Well, everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of Conversations with Champions. As I always encourage people, please remember to be your best, to be inspired, to be great. We'll talk to you all later. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.